Your dirty, sweaty, juicy ass is stinking up my simulator.
The f was that for? This is the O-Rouge C1 Cold Fusion, and it might be the seat of your dreams for sim racing. So first things first, to talk a little bit about O-Rouge as a company. They are a European company. All of their seats and cockpits are manufactured in Europe. No cheap Chinese stuff. All of their products are European made. So the O-Rouge C1, what is so special about it and why am I making this video? Well, the O-Rouge C1 looks like any other bucket seat. And to that, you are correct, but it has one trick up its sleeve. And that being these three fans on the back of the seat. You see, any normal bucket seat, when you're sitting in it, yes, it could be comfortable. Could be is a key word. There are plenty of bucket seats that feel like a bag of bricks that you're sitting in. But the issue with it is it doesn't breathe and there's no ventilation within the seat. And with that happening, you become sweaty and uncomfortable in your sim rig. And whether you have a sim rig for entertainment purposes or for training, you want to be comfortable and sustainable, where if you want to sit in your sim rig, just like my personal one here, for hours and hours on end, you can do that. And that's where the O-Rouge Cold Fusion seats come in. So there's three different variants. There's the C1, C1 XL, and C2. Different styles, but all having the same purpose. So how this seat works is the back of this seat is completely ventilated. So this mesh here is a piece of mesh, and then the fans feed into you through the ventilation. The location is towards the lats and then the lower back, and then it also gets your butt, which is this ventilated piece right here, but the fan is more so right here on your lower back, but you know, blows towards your butt. And so there's this controller right here that you could turn to the right and the left to have different fan adjustments. And that, as you could hear, the fans are currently going. And what this does is it blows cold air onto your upper and lower back, which is great. Effectively, in a race car, there's this thing called a cold suit, which you put on. It's essentially a shirt that flows cold water through your race suit, and it keeps you cool and comfortable through a race. And this is very similar, except you don't have a big liquid bucket that you have to refill. It's just fans that can go for as long as you'd like. So I've had this O-Rouge C1 Cold Fusion for about a week now, and it has been phenomenal. I was a little bit skeptical coming from a Recaro pole position to this seat that it wouldn't be as rigid and as structurally sound as the Recaro. But after sitting in Recaros, Sparcos, Momos, Sawbelt seats, this has practically the same rigidity, if not a little better than some of those seats I just mentioned. The bolsters here do not flex at all. They are very stout, which is extremely important, especially if you have a stiff brake on your sim rig. So the C1 and the C1 XL have sort of this normal bucket wraparound style, whereas the C2, it has a halo style, so it wraps around your shoulders and it also wraps around your head like a halo seat. I'll put up a picture right now. When it comes to the weight bolsters, this feels again just like my pole position. And then the waist area, again, it is super rigid. There's not any flex on the side bolsters when I sit into this. Now this being the C1, I'm about 5'10". I'm not the thinnest guy and I fit in it quite well. It's a smidge snug, but with a bucket, you do want to be snug. That's the point of it. It's not like a reclinable seat where you want a lot of room. You want this to be snug. So it does the job very well. And to look a little more at the construction of it, this is a removable bolster right here. You can remove it if you want, you know, lower legs. I like to keep it on because I like my legs propped up a little bit when I am racing. That's just the seating position I prefer. And then of course there's padding right here. It's really soft. Again, you can remove it on both sides, but I like to keep it in. I like that added support. I like to be comfortable. Overall, packaging on this seat was really good. I didn't have any scratches while buying it, and it was packaged really nice when it landed from Belgium. The one issue with this seat is they are relatively limited in the United States. If you're outside of the United States, this does not apply to you. But us here at Boundless Racing have loved the O-Rouge seats and what O-Rouge is doing as a company for quite a while now, and we decided to make the jump to import these seats to the United States. So we are carrying the C1, the C1 XL, and the C2 currently in the US, and you could buy one right now. So when it comes to pricing, because I bet that's what a lot of people are wondering, The pricing for the C1 is $1,049, the C1 XL $1,099, and then the C2 at $1,149. So $1,049 to $1,149. And then when it comes to shipping, there's a small shipping fee on top of things because shipping seats are quite expensive. And to be upfront and honest with you, it's just a flat rate of 50 bucks. So this seat is obviously not cheap. So who is it for? It's really for the people who are in between getting an actual race car seat and getting a seat that has some practicality. So the real people who are buying these seats are people who want to have a cool seat or a seat that is practical, or maybe in between like a Recaro SimStar or an OMP race seat. But again, this is for the sim and you want to be comfortable, so you go with something like this. So with that, that's enough about talking about the seat. Let's hop in the driver's seat and talk a little about driving impressions with both drifting and racing.
So first things first, I really want to hop into the drifting side of things. Honestly, there's not much to talk about. You know, with drifting, you don't use, you know, a super heavy brake or nothing like that. So there's really, you know, no sense of, you know, needing a super strong seat to begin with, but it is nice. So crank the fans up a little bit. It's great to stay cool, right? Me, myself, personally, I drift a lot. I'm an esports drifter, so I'm on the sim a lot to, of course, train for esports races and stuff like that. And this is super comfortable. I had a session last night where I drove for about an hour and a half. I had the fans blasting. I even had some music going in my ears, and it was super comfortable and probably the most comfortable sim racing experience I've had, just because I wasn't sweating a bunch. And you know, it sucks to, you know, hop on the sim and then go to bed and then you're all sweaty and stuff. It's pretty gross, to be honest with you. But being able to have this seat and for it to cool me while I'm driving, you know, it's nice and convenient. And right now, when it's midday and I'm not about to go to bed and I have other stuff to do throughout the day, like going places, being able to stay cool and not really feel exhausted after a session of simming is great. So when it comes to flex and such, there honestly isn't much when it comes to drifting. Again, I'm not moving my arms around. With drifting, you want to be smooth. I just wanted to bring it up because, you know, some of my audience on this channel are drifters and may be interested in this seat, but it is super comfortable. Like, I could sit here and drive for hours on end and be comfortable. I was last night testing my seating position, so the bottom bolster underneath my legs right now, I was testing it without it. And what that did was kind of lower my leg position down. Last night I felt kind of high up, like I was floating a little bit. Last night I felt my leg position was a little high up. I think that was just because I was tired and it felt weird hopping back on it with the bolster out. So I put it back in and it feels fantastic. It feels almost like my previous seat, which was a Recaro pole position. It's just as comfortable. And with my seating position, I've really dialed it in where I have lumbar support. If I take the bolster out, it's flat and my back is kind of, there's a gap in between the back of the seat and my lower back, which made my back hurt last night. But now with the bottom bolster, I have that lumbar support I was looking for. And now it's honestly perfect. Like, I got the fans going, I'm cool, and I got lumbar support. I could literally take a nap in this, to be honest with you. Like, these shoulder paddings here, I didn't have that in my Recaro, but this is like a whole new level of, you know, support in the shoulders. Is it entirely necessary? No, it's just another add-on to the support and comfort you get out of this seat. So that's enough with the drifting side and the personal side of things. Let's hop into some racing and do some of that as well. So of course, now I gotta do some actual racing, of course, right? We can't not do some. So popped on some iRacing with the 992 Cup car at Road Atlanta. And just to talk a little about the racing experience with this seat as well. So after doing quite a few sessions of iRacing with this seat, it's been nothing but fantastic. Now, when it comes to my brake pedal, I have the SimMagic P1000s. I have about 60 kilograms of force within it right now. It's nothing too crazy like you could get with the Heusinkfeld Ultimates or even SimMagic P2000s or the active pedal. I have kind of a chill pedal that I can use for drifting and for racing. But using this pedal and this seat, when I hop onto the brakes and I really slam into them, there isn't any flex, which is the big thing, because nothing annoys me more than, you know, hopping into a sim, hopping into my seat, and oh, I try to brake and use my brakes, and guess what? There's flex, right? So thankfully with the O-Rouge, again, European built, it's not a cheap seat like we get with some of the Chinese seats out there. This thing's strong, rigid, built to last, and I've understeered off into the grass. I'm so good. Along with that, having the fans racing is just as comfortable as drifting. Now, I don't do as much racing as I do with drifting, right? But with the ability to have the fans, I'm able to stay cool in races. I think honestly, I sweat more in races if I do like a 15-minute race than I do in an hour of drifting, just because there's nerves of trying not to tank my I rating or my safety, and then having to fight people, etc. And there's a lot more movement in the arms and the feet when you have to get on the gas, have to brake, etc., etc. And the track is always changing and there's different people. I do get a lot more sweaty, but being in this, it's practically gone. It not only makes me more comfortable, but kind of takes my nerves down as well, because I'm not getting hot. I'm not thinking about being hot. I'm just thinking about what I need to do in the race in order to, you know, win, or at least not get dead last or taken out by a back marker. And again, having the seat, you know, popped up a little in the front allows me to have that lumbar support I want. I may be young, but I can't stand back issues. I may be young, but being uncomfortable, especially in the back, is something I don't really like, as I'm sure many people don't like, whether they're, you know, 20 or 50. And this definitely doesn't provoke any back aching pains. And again, I could sleep in this if I really wanted to. So a big thing, so just to touch on a little more about what comes with the seat. What comes with the seat is the controller, the battery, the seat itself, but no brackets or seat sliders. So if you are on the market for this seat, make sure to pick up a set of nice brackets and seat sliders. Nothing can ruin your seat more than getting bad sliders or brackets. Not that it's gonna destroy it or anything, but that, you know, if you wanna adjust your seat, it's gonna be a pain. You're gonna have to push a lot. It could slide your whole rig back if you don't have something nice. So don't cheap out on those things, get something nice. So in conclusion, after a week of using this seat, racing, drifting, all of that, I really have no complaints. I've had no hiccups with the electronics and the fans not working. The seat itself, again, is extremely comfortable. I will say I'm not the biggest guy, right? I'm about 5'10", but my legs aren't super skinny. I'm not scrawny, but I'm not like super buff. But just for comfort, I would go with the C1 XL, just because my waist, it'd have a little more room to stretch out the legs. But honestly, it's not that big of a deal. I haven't really had any issues with my leg going numb or anything like that. It's more like, you know, a slight preference slash nitpicking things to not sound, you know, super like, oh, this is the perfect seat for sim racing, which it might as well be, because this thing's pretty good. So what are your guys' thoughts? Would you guys rather have something like a Recaro SimStar or a seat like this? They're practically the same price, but one of them gives you the function of cooling yourself. So what do you think about that? Let me know in the comments below. And if you're interested in picking up an O-Rouge seat, head over to boundlessracing.com. We have them in stock in the US. We do not drop ship them. They are literally here in the States, or if you order one, we'll ship it out the next day. And if you're interested in any other products or even upgrading your whole rig with any of our bundles or even our turnkeys, check out our site below. So with that said, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll catch you in the next video. Take care.